Hello everyone and happy St. Patrick's Day. My name's Tash and I work for Jameson UK and I have the pleasure this evening of taking you through this Jameson Masterclass. So I'd like to say a huge hello to everyone from Speakeasy company today. So that's everyone from the Blind Monkey, the Coach and Horses, the Cadeby and Don Valley Brewery. So thank you so much for tuning in today. It's really great to have you all here. And I hope you enjoy the Jameson Masterclass. So, what better way to celebrate the Irish heritage of the world's #1 Irish whiskey than by making a few gorgeous drinks and celebrating together, albeit virtually this year because we've got to stay safe, but hopefully we'll be able to enjoy some in-person drinks this time next year for St. Patrick's Day 2022. Okay, so before we get started, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what we're going to be doing today, and then there's one really important thing that I need you to do for me as well. So we're going to kick things off with a Jameson ginger ale and lime. That's a JGL, so when you hear those three letters, that's what I'm talking about. We're then going to talk through a little bit about our next drink, the Irish coffee, and where this came from. And then we're going to finish things by making an Irish coffee. So this is where that important thing that I need you to do comes in. So I need you to go and put your kettle on. I need you to brew some coffee. So this is because when we make the drink, we don't want it to be piping hot. We want it to be a really nice temperature for you guys to enjoy. So I've used dark roast filter coffee here in my teapot and made that just before coming on here. If you guys have been lucky enough to get your hands on those gorgeous Jameson kits that came in the box, then there's a little sachet of coffee in there. If you've not, no worries, just brew up the same coffee you would for your morning coffee. We're making do with what we've got here. It's all different this year, but we're managing. Okay, so like I said, we're going to kick things off with our first drink, a JGL. So for this, you're going to need a highball Jameson glass. So I've got the branded one that was used in the Jameson kit that I managed to get my hands on. If you've not got one like this, that's fine. Just any tall glass that you can fill to the top with ice. So that's really important. It's a tall drink we're making, so we're going to use lots of ice in there. Like I said, ice, so now's the time to run to your freezer and grab some of that as well. We're also going to use Jameson Irish Whiskey. We're going to use ginger ale, so I've got Schweppes ginger ale here. And finally, I'm going to use a fresh lime. Now, you guys that are using the kits might have seen you don't have a fresh lime. You'll have a dehydrated lime wheel in a packet like this. That's perfectly fine. It just won't add the same zestiness that a fresh lime will, but it will look absolutely beautiful for any pictures that I'm hoping you're taking, because it's a lovely lime wheel that you can put just down the side of your glass as a garnish. Okay, so hopefully you guys have managed to grab some ice and we can start making this drink. We're going to start with 50 millilitres of Jameson Original. Now, the reason that this drink is our key serve is because the ginger pulls out the gorgeous notes of the orchard fruits in Jameson Original. So I'm talking things like apples, pears, plums, amazing taste like that, and the ginger just highlights those and brings it all together in this really refreshing drink. So we've got 50 millilitres of Jameson in there. We're then going to fill that glass right to the brim with ice. So I've got my makeshift ice bucket here. Right to the top. There we go. And then we're going to go in with our ginger ale. Now, a couple of things when you're pouring a carbonated drink over ice, just some tips to use maybe for the future as well as today. If you want to find a gap where you can avoid the ice, you don't want to pour directly on top of the ice. And this is for two reasons. One, it helps this stay nice and fizzy, which is what we want. And it also stops your ice from diluting as fast because we want to keep our drink nice and cold and we don't want it going really watery quicker than we can drink it. Okay, so find a nice little gap and pour in your ginger ale. Right to the brim like so. Now, the reason this drink is so amazing is because it's so simple, and that really highlights the smoothness of Jameson Original. So we like to say it's triple distilled, and that makes it twice as smooth. So keeping it really simple, not using loads of complex ingredients, really highlights that Jameson just stands out on its own. It's a really gorgeous whiskey, works perfectly in this drink. Okay, and now time for our final ingredient. Like I said, I'm using fresh lime. So here's one I chopped earlier, a little lime wedge. The lime does two things for the JGL. You squeeze it on top And then when you take a drink, the lime is the first flavour that hits you, so it's really refreshing. And then it acts as your garnish as well, so drop that in. Now's the time for those of you using that dehydrated lime wheel just to slide that in as well. I recommend putting it right on the edge. Like I said, when you're taking pictures, it looks like a beautiful garnish. And there is our first Jameson drink. So cheers, happy St. Patrick's Day. There's your JGL. Never gets old, just as refreshing every time. There we go, pop that front and centre. So whilst you're all enjoying drinking your first drink, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our next drink, and that is the Irish coffee. So for those of you that don't know, the Irish coffee dates back to 1942, and everything starts with a gentleman called Joseph Sheridan. Now he was a head chef at an airport in Ireland, okay? And he's said to have invented the Irish coffee. We then fast forward to 1951, where a famous travel author who went by the name of Stanton de la Plaine travels from his home in San Francisco and passes through the airport that Sheridan works at. Now, at this airport, it's a welcome drink, it's a signature that you have an Irish coffee. So Stanton de la Plaine tries this Irish coffee and absolutely falls in love with it. I mean, who wouldn't? It's a gorgeous drink, right? But then when he travels back to his home in San Francisco, he's working at the Buena Vista, which is a really influential place way back then and now as well. So he tries to replicate this recipe at the Buena Vista in San Francisco. He tries dozens and dozens of times, but he just can't get it right. He can't get the measures right. And obviously Sheridan hasn't disclosed the recipe to him, so he's getting really frustrated. We then find ourselves in 1952, and Stanton de la Plaine wants this drink so badly, he wants it in his place of work, that he gets in touch with Joseph Sheridan and he says, you know, I want to offer you a job at the Buena Vista. Joseph Sheridan jumps at the opportunity, packs his bags, moves from Ireland to San Francisco, and most importantly, he brings the recipe and the Irish coffee drink with him. Then we're in San Francisco, everyone there gets to love this drink, it then spreads throughout the USA, and the rest is history, because then it spreads throughout the world. And that's the story of the classic Irish coffee that we are going to enjoy today. So I hope you've enjoyed a bit of your JGL whilst I've been chatting about the Irish coffee, but it's time to make drink number 2. So for this, you're going to need a glass this is really important, a glass that can hold hot liquid. So I don't want any injuries, I don't want any cracking glasses. That is not how we want to celebrate St. Patrick's Day today. So a glass that can hold hot liquid. If you've got one that's clear, that's even better, because then you'll be able to see the gorgeous rim of double cream floating on top. Again, perfect for those photos. If you've not got a clear one, that's fine. We're making do with what we've got today. All right. I've also got one with a little handle, which is perfect because it means you won't burn your fingers. But like I said, just pick whatever you've got in your kitchen. Ingredients, we're going to need our coffee that I'm hoping has set to a nice temperature now, if you made it right at the beginning when I said. You're also going to need double cream. So I like using full fat double cream. This is because I find lighter one is a bit harder to float on top of the coffee. You're also going to need some sugar. So I've actually made mine into a sugar syrup using equal parts sugar and water. I find it just dissolves a bit better in my drink. You don't have to do that if you don't want, but if you've got time, just mix some sugar with some water and that might make it dissolve a little bit easier. I use Demerara sugar, which is what we recommend. The sweetness complements the flavours of the coffee and the Jameson, but you can just use the granulated sugar that you use in your coffee in the morning. You can use any baking sugar you've got, anything that's in your kitchen, okay? But like I said, I'm using Demerara sugar. We're then also going to need some Jameson Irish whiskey. And that is it for an Irish coffee. So let's start. Now I'm going to start with, I'm going to go 10 millilitres of my sugar syrup. So spoonful wise, maybe a spoonful of sugar if you're using that. If you want to make this drink slightly sweeter, that's fine, just add a little bit more. Again, the other way, if you want to make it not as sweet, add a bit less. It's your drink, we want it to taste how you like it, okay? We're then going to go in with our coffee. So 2 things. 1, be really careful pouring this if it's still quite hot. 2 is we don't want to go to the top of your glass. You need to leave enough room for your measure of Jameson, and you need to leave enough room for your double cream as well, okay? So, like I said, I'm not going straight to the top. I'm going to go up to about there, okay? Perfect. We're then going to go in with our Jameson whiskey. Now, the specification for this says 40 millilitres, but I'm actually going to use 50 because my glass is quite large. So just judge that, see what size glass you want, how strong you want your Irish coffee, and make that call yourself, okay? Perfect. And then I'm just going to give that a little stir to make sure the sugar, the Jameson and the coffee are all mixed in nicely before we go with the bit that everyone always dreads, the cream on top. There we go. Now, I've got my double cream, but we're not going to pour it straight in. What we're going to do is I'm going to grab a fork or a spoon. You can use the same spoon you just used to mix if you want. And we're just going to give it a little whip. Now, what this does is it thickens it up a little bit, and that helps it float on top. What we don't want to do is we don't want to over whisk it, okay? Because this will make it all clump together and it won't look very pretty. Again, you don't want to under whisk it because you don't want it just to sink to the bottom. So it's an art, okay? So I'm hoping if you guys whisk along with me, keep an eye on when air bubbles start to form. When they do, you can stop, okay? So let's have a go. Not quite there yet. A little bit more. And that's perfect. So I've just got a few air bubbles forming, but it's not too thick. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a spoon. What we're going to do is turn the spoon upside down. You want the tip of the spoon just to be touching the surface of the coffee, and then we pour the cream slowly over the back, okay? So let's hold our breath and try it together. Perfect. There we go. And it floated, which is always the bit that I dread that it's not going to happen, but it did, okay? So you've got your lovely Irish coffee there. You've got your JGL that we made at the start, which might have gone by now. I'm hoping so, whilst you've been having fun making these drinks. And just a massive thank you for having me this evening. Like I said, anything you've made, I would love to see. So if you want to tag me at Jameson UK, alternatively, tag the guys at Speakeasy Company as well, at whatever venue you're joining from. I'm sure they'd love to see your creations as well. All right, now that's it from me this evening. Enjoy your drinks and have a lovely rest of your St. Patrick's Day. Like I said, I'm Tash, and thank you for having me. Bye.